What's up, and welcome to another pre-Chiro episode where we're just having meaningful conversations with people that are either in school or have just gotten out of school or have been out for a really long time to just help you, the prospective student, learn a little more about what it takes and also what that personal process can look like. So today we have Doctor in Training Abdullah coming to us from New Zealand. Super excited to have this conversation. I got a couple specific questions to ask you, but why don't you just get us started by just introducing yourself? Thank you so much for joining us, first of all, and letting us know a little bit about, what attracted you to becoming a chiropractor.
Awesome, man. It's my pleasure, Dr. Ben Glass. I really appreciate that. A little bit about myself is I'm from Ottawa, Canada, born and raised, and I'm studying at the New Zealand College of Chiropractic in my final year. Um, what attracted me to becoming a chiropractor, uh, I just grew up seeing the sign chiropractic and not knowing what the heck it was. I thought it was some sort of massage therapy. I didn't know. I thought it was like Eastern medicine or something. I literally had no clue. Grew up kind of just playing sports and hearing chiropractic in the background. I would have thought it was just some sort of therapy once again. And then a few years down the line, I dated a chiropractic student who comes from a chiropractic family. And she was sort of describing what chiropractic is, still didn't get the full message. So I thought it was just back cracking at this point, neck cracking, back cracking. And, fair enough. That's what I saw. That's what I accepted at that moment. And I learned that it can help with low back pain. And my mom has a very, very long list of health conditions. To list off three, chronic low back pain of over 15 years. We're looking at diaphragm spasms that wake her up overnight, every night, to the point where she has to take pills to relieve it, as well as asthma. Those were three, I wouldn't say major, but three big health conditions that she had. And she finally went to go see a chiropractor right next to our house to address just the low back pain. And through the duration of her care, her diaphragm spasms had stopped and she'd need to rely on the asthma puffers less. And we were just absolutely stunned with that. Again, still didn't know how the heck that worked, but I was like, I, just chit chatting with the chiropractor a little bit. He's just telling me, hey, dude, the brain controls everything. The brain's connected to the spine. Your mom is seeing me for low back pain, which is controlled by the spine, which is controlled by the brain. Everything else is a byproduct of the brain just working at its best. And then that right there, I was like, this is what I want to do.
Wow. So it was like a direct experience with a chiropractor. Were you already in school studying to go into healthcare or?
I was in school. I was in my first year of university studying religion and sociology. I did not have any type of healthcare background or science background for that matter until that experience. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go talk to my university, see if I can switch into a science program. So they got me to take chemistry and biology over a summer, and they said if
Mhm.
I score a B grade, I'd be able to transition into what I majored in and what I finished my degree in biology and food science and nutrition. Um, and all I had to do was get a couple of B's. I got a couple of A pluses. It got my confidence up, and there it was.
Nice. And so, how much time went by in between you deciding you want to become a chiropractor and actually enrolling in the school?
Um, so I decided at, let's just say, 21 years old, and I got into chiropractic college right when I finished my 24th years old. So I'd say 3 years.
Okay,
So 4 years. Yeah.
cool. And
Um,
what did you do in that time to prepare yourself for chiropractic school?
yeah, I was just studying science as a whole, biology, human biology as a whole, nutrition as a whole, at a very, very small level, trying to understand how the body works prior to taking the next step into understanding how chiropractors can help the body as a whole. So
Mhm.
just studying. I was just studying. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I was just curious. All right, so
Yeah.
you went from Ottawa, Canada to New Zealand, or you were staying
Yeah.
somewhere else before you moved to New Zealand?
Not from Ottawa, Canada, New Zealand. Yeah.
Okay. And how did you decide on New Zealand? What was the decision-making process like? Because obviously you had a lot of options.
Yeah. So I definitely, that chiropractor that helped my mom ended up being my mentor. I had told him, hey, I want to become a chiropractor. Please tell me everything I need to do to increase my chances of going and becoming a good chiropractor. And he was like, what you want to do is aim at a certain amount of colleges across the United States. And if you have a chance, I would absolutely explore and take the opportunity to go to New Zealand as a priority. Um, and he just kind of talked to me about the all chiropractic schools are absolutely wonderful. He just said you can have a little bit more of a critical thinking analysis if you were to go to a school with a more of a vitalistic input,
Hmm.
just for perspective's sake. So he kind of directed me towards like the Life West and the Lights and all those, and that's where I wanted to head. And then the president of the college in New Zealand was in Ottawa in that year, and that chiropractor had put me in touch with him. So we set up a lunch and we chit chatted there, and I was just sold. He told me about the curriculum. He showed me the country of New Zealand. It was so easy. I'm like, all right, this is what I'm doing.
Amazing. Yeah. Now, one thing I saw recently online was that if you graduate from New Zealand, there's now a number of states in the United States that you can actually practice in. That didn't used to exist. I think that's
Wow.
within recent years. What's
Oh,
your
wow.
outlook on what you're going to do after school, or what are you allowed to go? Like, where are you allowed to go practice based on your understanding?
Yeah, based on my understanding, directly if I graduate from New Zealand, I can go to Australia. I can practice in New Zealand itself. I can go to any place without a chiropractic board, and I believe we can go to the UK and Singapore, but I'm unsure if Singapore has a board or not. Um, and I can absolutely write, like I have 25 Canadian colleagues of mine who just wrote the Canadian boards, and I have two American colleagues who wrote the American boards. So from my understanding, is if I were to choose to go practice in the States or Canada in the future, all I have to do is just write boards and uh, and go from there.
And what's the cost of the education? Because it's really expensive in the US. I imagine it's a little bit less in New Zealand.
So that's another selling point that brought me over here is the price in comparison to the U.S. colleges is really, really, really cheap. Um, it's we're talking 35,000 New Zealand dollars per year.
Okay.
And if translate that to the US dollar, which is in comparison to the New Zealand dollar, very expensive. I couldn't tell you right now what it is, but
Sure.
35 New Zealand dollars per year. And then you got the city of Auckland is pretty expensive to live in.
Hmm.
Um, but it's all pretty relative. You can find jobs out here that are part time that do you good for rent and stuff like that.
All right. So you're in clinic now.
Yep, I'm in clinic.
How would you describe your time before you got to clinic? What was your what were you attracted to? What types of groups were you hanging out with? Where was your focus at?
Yeah, I naturally gravitated towards people with logical approaches. I just kind of like that style of thought a little bit, and it's easier to have conversations when people are very logical. Just because if I'm not seeing something in a certain perspective, they could just highlight that perspective for me. Um, and in combination to that, the something that's directly associated with those specific people was how driven they were. Always wanted to practice technique, always wanted to practice, neuro examinations, orthopedic tests, things like that. And I kind of formed into a group of four people, and we held each other accountable every weekend to just get better, to continuously get better. Because if we want to graduate and be great, it starts while you're in chiropractic college.
Absolutely. What would you say about that dynamic with those four other individuals? Like, how did you organize your time on the weekends? Because there's a lot of different skills you need to develop within yourself. How have you prioritized? How have you organized sort of those weekend meetup groups?
Yeah. So what we did was if we had work, we would try not to work on weekends because we'd reserve Saturdays and Sundays just for that practice group, and we would meet up at like 9 a.m. and just do one portion up till about 11:30, have a lunch, all hang out, and then go at it for another 2-3 hours, and then just end the day playing video games. So
Mhm.
we just go through the hard work and then kind of just reward ourselves with something with joy and bonding
Right
amongst
on.
us. Yeah, but it's the formation of that group that really is hard to get, and hopefully you have to get out of your comfort zone, because as you learned in chiropractic college, you're wrong a lot, and so are your colleagues. So you want to be around people who you're comfortable enough to correct, and comfortable enough for people to correct you in that
For
aspect,
sure.
because yeah, it could be
How
a
would you
tough pill
describe
to
the
swallow at times.
experience at New Zealand Chiropractic College for a prospective student? How would you break it down in, say, a minute of like just describing the facilities, the campus, the staff, the amount of chiropractic sort of focus that you get from the outside, like external resources? What's it look like?
Yeah, it's hands-on from day one. It's they really push you. They really push you in New Zealand. The curriculum is kind of made out for you to have really strong clinical skills and really strong chiropractic skills, so that you're very, very ready by the time you graduate. They're they're really they're really there to test you, to make sure that you know what you're doing, why you're adjusting in a specific area, for what reason, at what time. Everything is super justified, within reason. And then beyond that, the hours and the requirements that you have to get while you're in clinic are pretty high. And yeah, they just have really high standards, and they make it possible for you to reach there and even go beyond it.
That's what's up, man. So you're feeling good about the decision. You're enjoying like kind of where
Oh
you're
yeah.
at. You're happy about it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And the coolest thing about New Zealand is how beautiful and small this country is. Like, in every break, like, I'm just driving down, looking at the beautiful mountains and stuff. So, no mountains in Ottawa.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, the winters in
Yeah.
New Zealand got to be better than Ottawa.
Exactly.
So what's it look like after you get out of school? Like what's your outlook on it? What do you think you're going to be doing, or what are some options that you're playing around with?
Yeah, so for now, just a very rough sketch. What I want to do is I want to head to Gold Coast, Australia, to a very nice beach town next to a little bit south of Brisbane, which is a pretty big city. And I'm chatting with a couple of people over there who um, run a few practices, and essentially they just they have a really good postgraduate thing going on for me to see a high volume amount of people, and really grow as a chiropractor and help as many more people as a chiropractor. And a little bit beyond then, I want to start pioneering chiropractic where chiropractic isn't offered and isn't available. So there's areas in the Middle East that people need chiropractic, and they don't have access to. So I want to be able to bring that access to them,
There you
just through
go.
that area.
So you're going to move back to the Middle East, or you're going to move to the Middle East, you think? You're going to have to be there, right?
Yeah, yeah. So my family is going to be, so they're currently in Kuwait right now, and I'd be going to Kuwait a little bit just to pioneer chiropractic there to start, and then slowly start to branch off in different areas, and yeah, hopefully get more people on board to offer it, just because there's no chiropractors over there, and you know, um,
So you want to
I'm
open
gonna,
up maybe a series of clinics you're thinking, or you're thinking of school?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the plan. Just a series of clinics. In the long run, if there's an opportunity that runs by to hopefully open up a school, then maybe. But as far as right now goes, the one thing I do see is people without chiropractic care. So I do want to get them under care.
No, that's great, bro. That's great. Do
Thank
you
you.
have any specific questions for me as somebody who's been in practice for 10, 12 years? Or what are you working on mentally now? Like, what are you trying to figure out? Or obviously, you got to go have the experience with these high volume clinics. But like, what are you pondering right now? Or is there anything specific?
Yeah, I do actually. I do. And hopefully it's not like a tough question or anything like that. Um, how do you go from, seeing a high performance athlete, in one visit to the very next visit, seeing someone with like neuromotor deficits, 3 out of 5, like, how do you have that switch, and what do you change in your slight checking approach? And
Well, obviously, the approach is going to be adapted to the individual, but to schedule those back to back is not that wise. Like the
Mhm.
amount of time that it takes for you with somebody who's got deficits. I think what I hear you saying is somebody who maybe is slow to move around or slow to talk or slow to think. Um, that's going to be way different. I mean, a performance athlete, it just also depends on the style of practice. You know, it's everybody's got a different style. So my style of practice is I'm going to see people about 15-minute visits. It really only takes me about 3 to 5 minutes to adjust them. But it gives me a cushion that if I want to put 2 people every 15 minutes, I can. If I need some more time with some people, then I can have that, if that makes sense. Like, I think that your scheduling is where you would address what you're talking about.
Mhm. Okay, thank you for that. Another question I do have for you is for a young future doc. What do you recommend? What techniques do you recommend them to learn?
I think that before you even go to chiropractic school, but in your circumstance, while you're in chiropractic school, the more exposure you can get to the entire field, and obviously you're not going to be able to go deep with all of it, but
Mhm,
you're going to quickly, within 5, 10, 15 minutes of learning about an approach, you're going to be able to feel like whether that's something that you want to add to like what it is that you do. So dedicate yourself to like 1 semester of going deep with that. And if it feels right, then keep going with it the following semester. If it doesn't feel right, go deep. And when I say deep, I just mean beneath the surface, right? There's levels to this, as we like to say. And so I just think that, some of the things that you might not get exposure to out there, that we have exposure to here, I could list them off, but the point is like we can do that more privately. But I think that, um, just doing research on like what's out there, what's available to you, really researching all the availabilities. I'm going to obviously be uh, trying to organize that for people in a very efficient way through the website and just the project that I'm working on. But I could rattle off 15 things. Like, I don't know what your exposure level is to things like
mhm,
SOT or AK or network or Thompson
mhm,
technique or upper cervical approaches or BGI or MLS or Numa or Tao of Chiropractic or Kairos training culture or Samurai's training camp. Like, there's
mhm,
a lot of different people that I've become exposed to just based on like where I'm at, that you
mhm,
probably haven't gained exposure to, but they're all online. They're all posting stuff. I've had so many different people on this podcast that represent like CBP, chiropractic biophysics. I've had Deed Harrison on here to talk about the research they've done on that, but also like what training offerings. And I think they're all online modules now with that stuff. I haven't done it, but I know about it. And like I said, I could probably go on for the next 5, 10 minutes on just all these different resource and avenues that you could go down. But like what's
mhm.
important is for you to kind of let me know what direction you're trying to go in. And then I could be like, okay, these are like the 5 options. Like, are you going full spine? Are you doing more sports? Are you trying to do more pediatric? Are you trying to do more um, car accident, personal injury? Are you trying to
Right.
do more light touch? Do you want to do muscle testing? Do you want to do, you know what I'm saying? It's like, do you want to
Yep.
do x-rays? Do you not want to do x-rays? Do you want to use the subluxation scan? Do you not want to use the subluxation scan? Do you want to host talks in your office? Do you want to do it all social media? You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Mhm, mhm. Now that opens a lot up. That opens a lot up for sure. Okay. Okay.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know if that was what you were looking for as a
no,
response.
no, definitely. What I'll do is I'll be in touch with you to tell you kind of what I want to go for, and we
For
can go from
sure.
there.
All right, so let's just kind of like dig deeper into like what the clinic experience is like at New Zealand. How would you
Yep.
describe your experience so far, and how would you describe it to a prospective student?
Yeah, so the clinic itself is the biggest clinic in all of Australasia. It's very beautiful. It's very large. It's got great animation. It's got a great system for you to learn and just they'll you start to learn what you want out of it, what you don't want out of it, all in the goodness of becoming a chiropractor as a whole. You have fantastic mentors, especially on in your second year of the internship. You get people who are really, really deep in the field, who are coming out to help and just for the love of chiropractic, and they're there directly right next to you. If you're ever confused, if you ever wanted to approach, a complicated body or a complex body, They just tell you little tips and tricks of how to approach certain individuals for big cases that you may not have, expected to see right away. There's just great people all around you.
Mhm.
The My experience as a whole is I've been just when I moved to New Zealand, I just kind of got to know people within Auckland, and just got along with them really fine. And as soon as I started my internship, I had a couple of people come in to see me to get the touch of the wellness aspect of chiropractic, and it's been really kicking off from a referral standpoint since. So I've been doing very, very well in terms of getting a lot of people in under care, helping those people out in multiple aspects, seeing their improvements, monitor their progression. Um, so I've been loving the experience, every little bit of it, and I totally, totally recommend it.
Awesome. Can you share just a little bit about the demographic? How would you describe the student body?
Yeah, yeah. So what we have is, this is pre-COVID. The initial plan was to make sure that the school is 50% international, but with COVID, they only accepted Kiwis because the borders were closed. Kiwis being New Zealanders. Um, the Yeah. So what they want is, they want what we have in my cohort, because it was pre-COVID, is about 35 international students, a total of 70 students. So half of which were internationals, a couple of from Singapore, couple from Indonesia, person from France, a couple of Americans, a lot of Australians, and then you get, I think, like 20 Canadians. So a lot of Canadians just go there uh, for some reason, but I guess the reason is, the curriculum and the vitalistic aspect is pretty good. And in terms of the Kiwi students, Kiwi has its New Zealand has its own demographics as a whole. So you get like Polynesians, you get the indigenous Maori, you get the white folks over here. Yeah, and everyone's all good. You do have your Asian demographic, your Indian demographic. I'm a Middle Eastern Canadian, and yeah, so you get a little bit of everything, and it's super cool and motivating to see that all of us are here working with each other with love, and just want, the main goal is just to get a bunch of people under care and spread the word of chiropractic.
No doubt. No doubt. Um, you've mentioned a couple times your family's from Kuwait, Middle East, and
Yep.
I've seen on your social media a lot of sort of Allah being referenced. So
Yep.
I think Ramadan's about to hit any day now or
That's
any
right.
week now.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can we relate chiropractic to people in that culture? Because it is such, like, you know, religion and spirituality is not the same thing, of course. However, it's like speaking to communities that really congregate around spirituality and turning inward and praying.
Yep.
How do you think chiropractic is going to resonate with that community?
The most fundamental concept of chiropractic is the respect of the innate ability of the human body. The body is so smart that it has the ability to self-regulate, self-heal, and self-coordinate. And in Ramadan, if I were to have a Muslim patient or practice member in front of me, and I see them, and the direct example I can give them is, your body is so smart. And if you don't believe me, look at how hard it is for you to fast for the first week of Ramadan, and then look how easy it is to fast for the rest of the month. You're no longer lightheaded. You no longer want that need for water. You no longer have the need to eat for food. And all of a sudden, you could feel like you could fast for 5 days straight without breaking it. That's how smart your body is at adapting. So I would take that adaptation level and show how innate is right there, innate intelligence is right there, and apply that to chiropractic. And seeing, a brain and body that's communicating at 100% can do so many wonders.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
that's the way I would relate it directly.
No, I think these are important questions, because if you're bringing it to a new country that doesn't have it yet, you obviously have to be respectful of the culture. You have to be respectful of the customs and the practices, and you have to adapt the chiropractic practice but it's
Yeah.
really cool to hear that you don't really have to adapt the chiropractic philosophy. It's already aligned with that
Right.
culture.
Right. Right. You just got to make it relevant. And I think everyone just, everyone will understand it if presented correctly. And I think it's just a matter of getting the message across the right way at the right time.
What are some other aspects of the culture besides Ramadan that could be, because I like to deconstruct cultural
Yeah.
practices and then figure out
Yeah.
ways that we could relate chiropractic to that culture.
Yeah. Yeah. So Islam has uh, the very, very easy understanding of there's only one God with no partnerships, just one God that is so big our brain can't imagine how big God is. So it's almost like a force. It is so large. God is so large, um, controls everything, all this order, everything has happened because of God. Um, that can be, equated to, or not equated to, but similar to the concept of universal intelligence that caused and created everything as a whole. And we Muslims believe that you have souls. So everyone has a soul, and once your soul gets taken is when you die. And that soul could be the innate intelligence. So you could kind of relate it in that aspect, because there's something in there that you can't really measure that's telling you to do X, Y, Z, but really there's a universe out there and there's a universe in here.
Hmm.
Ultimately, macro and micro, right?
And I know, just as an outsider, but just as an observer, I believe it's 5 times a day that there's a prayer, and you're
Yep,
actually physically on the ground, right?
yep, yep. That's correct.
So from an alignment, I mean, there's a teaching moment there for sure, just because it's something that people do 5 times a day, right?
Right, right.
Just just thought about that
Yeah.
while you were talking.
Can you touch me? Can you touch up a little bit on that so I can just pick up on it?
Just the alignment of an
Yeah,
individual's spine when they're
yeah.
praying and they have their
Oh
head
yeah.
down,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and teaching them about, hey, if you're maybe experiencing discomfort while you're praying, which is taking away your full focus from what you're there to do, this can actually help you have a
Right,
clear focus when you're
right,
praying. That's where I was really
right.
coming from, was just
Oh no, that's beautiful. That's very good. It's very good. Yeah. Wow.
these are the
I
types of
like that.
dialogues I think are really important just to keep building on, because it's like, okay, how can that be turned into potentially like a marketing and advertising campaign,
Right.
specifically within your culture with your language? I've seen some posts by you that are either in Sanskrit or something that looks like that.
Yep.
Right now we're really like going trans, against another language or across another
Yep.
language.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
this is just like, I think personally that there needs to be more of a dialogue amongst, I don't like to bring religion into it, but let's just be honest. People are very much identify themselves and label themselves based on the religion. So
Yep.
what if all of the Muslim people at New Zealand College and Life West and Life University, multiple schools, met up on a Zoom call every month, every couple of weeks, and just had these types of prompts like, have you, what types of cultural practices or what parts of the Quran or just different aspects of our people's way of living can we relate chiropractic to?
I think
Just
that's
as like an
beautiful. I think it's a
open-ended
beautiful
question,
idea.
and then just have a
Yeah.
conversation with,
That's a
fellow
wonderful
students.
idea. Yeah. I love that. I love that idea.
That's,
I
yeah,
love
I
that
think
idea.
it's all about building bridges, between
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
students at the schools, because you're all about to go out into the world in 2023 or 2024. And like, the more you could work together, there's so much of this like competition vibes. It's not a
Right.
competition, like we're all trying to make it, we're all trying to help people. It's not about that, but we need to work together more. You feel me?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
When were you born? What year were you born in?
So I was born in 1993.
Okay, 90s
1993.
baby.
Yeah. Yeah. What about yourself?
I'm 85.
85. Right on. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Around the same time. Around the same time.
Not too far off,
Yeah.
not too far off. you know, but
Yeah.
yeah, when I asked about the demographic of the school, I was curious, is there a lot of really young students there, or would you
Oh,
say?
okay. Yeah. So yeah, we have everything. So the New Zealanders tend to be younger because their pathway is a 5-year approach. So it's 1 year pre-Chiro, 4 years Chiro. And then I have a 52-year-old in my class, and I have a couple of other 40-year-olds in my class, like within the 40s. The average age in my first year for my cohort was 25. Uh, so I started at 25, and the average age for my class was 25. There's a lot of people who like kind of took a couple years off after doing a degree or before doing a degree, then started their chiropractic degree.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're all pretty now. We're just like, I guess, all around, early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, 40s, 50s. We got it all. It's
Cool.
it's super diverse in that way as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Any other questions you want to ask of me? I'm kind of just like having a conversation with you here.
Yeah. No, I'm like I was first of all hit by surprise because I haven't seen your podcast before, which is super exciting. I'm looking at I'll be in contact with you in the future just for a little bit more questions on directions towards techniques and resources towards techniques and stuff, and little
Yeah, and technique's
practice
one
questions
part.
here
So
and
the
there.
way that I
Yeah,
contextualize becoming a chiropractor is you're a
yeah,
scientist, a thinker, an
yeah.
artist, a teacher, and an entrepreneur. And it seems
Hmm.
like you're really good on social media. That could be something that you really leverage and use as one of your
Hmm.
strengths. But how are your teaching skills? Do you know how to really relate to people and let them feel heard, but also be concise and efficient with your time? Because you got to manage
Right,
your time while also teaching, but you know what I'm saying? And then
right,
your
right.
art is what you were honing in on. Like, what's the approach that I feel like is good for me is going to be different for you. But I blend
Yep.
a number of different approaches together for myself personally.
Hmm. Hmm. That's good food for thought. Yeah,
It's all good. There's a lot of science coming out of New Zealand. Can you talk a little bit about like the research or the just kind of the
yeah,
vibe? How do you incorporate the
yeah,
science that's come out of New Zealand college in your curriculum?
yeah. So we're honored to be the number one research institution on neuroplasticity and chiropractic. So that just means how the brain changes itself with a single chiropractic adjustment. So we have just an incredible group of neurologists and neurologists who are chiropractors and a bunch of PhDs who are chiropractors, just putting on an extensive amount of work towards research. And they do a lot of their studies in Pakistan, providing people with chiropractic care over there, all under while studying them.
Mm,
Um, it just we have Heidi Harvick. She's a bit of a legend in the chiropractic industry, leading the research team. And from day one, they give us her book and they make us read it. It's our why, and we remember, when times get tough, you go back and look at how things work from a scientific perspective, from a neurological standpoint, from the proprioceptive input aspect of one little adjustment can do so much for the brain, um, regardless. And if you have someone on a continuous care plan, it's going to change their brain for the better. That's me saying it in a very layperson uh, way, but yeah, they're just leading the world in neuroplasticity, and God bless them, and I hope they receive more funding and yeah, and to do more research in the future.
mm-hmm. All right, we're going to wrap it up there. Any final words you want to say to a prospective student who's considering becoming a chiropractor?
Yeah, chiropractic is for everyone. Everyone is a chiropractor deep down. Everyone can be a chiropractor. We need more chiropractors in this world because there are more people who need chiropractic care in this world. If you think you're an introvert and it's not for you, that's absolutely false. This is made for everybody. Everyone caters to everyone. Um, so there's people that I won't be able to attract, but the person at home may be able to attract and help. So just put in the work, do what you have to do, and become a chiropractor. You're going to help a lot of people. And it's so rewarding and it's so humbling seeing the change that you're making in these people's lives day to day. That has like monetary value attached to it. What the things you see is absolutely incredible, and don't consider it, just do it. That's what I got to say to the folks at home. Just do it.
Hmm. Hmm.